AFTV 5-0. And still, you heard Stricto there moaning, saying that it was dull. 5-0. If City does that, no one says it's dull, do they? They just say 5-0. They put a team to the sword that, was there to be put to the sword, and they did it. And yeah, I mean, what did you make of it?
I thought for the first 60 minutes or so, I thought Palace made it quite difficult in terms of their compactness and their shape. They didn't really come out of that shape. They didn't really look to make a game of it, and it's the sort of game, and we've had those games before where if you don't score, you go in at half time at 0-0. Like, they just got another 45 minutes to kind of hold on and hang on. Henderson time wasting from the third, fourth minute. Always looks like it could be a really difficult afternoon, and then you get 2 set-piece goals and they still won't come out. But fundamentally, I mean, the goals that we got came out off the transition. So the Trossard goal came, Raya seen one, played it out, and the 2 Martinelli ones late. So we were due a performance like that, or we were due a scoreline like that. We put Lons to the sword here, and there's probably been a few games where we should have done that to other sides and haven't done it. So it's positive that that's happened. I think the break, obviously, in Dubai has helped. And fundamentally, we're in there. And I suppose one of the things that I'm looking at now when I look at the league table and I look at the sides around is whether or not we are better as leaders or chasers. And I think maybe
that's an interesting point. I mean, what do you think? Yeah, I mean, because I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and I was like, well, last season we were leading. Leading at Christmas, leading in February, leading this. We were always kind of leading, and then it's like that horse. It's just, you just see him just calm and just, builds up momentum. Now, are we better off this season being that team that's just sort of in the chase, in and around it? You know what I mean? For a little bit periods, no one's really considering you, no one's really talking about you. But you're building up a little, and then you sort of go for it near the end. I mean, I don't know. We haven't been involved in these sort of races for a long time, so.
No, and I think that's it. And I think as I think about it, that's what I'm considering. I'm wondering if we are stronger, kind of coming from behind and making a bit of a run for it. Last 7-8 games. I look at sides like Liverpool, who didn't really seem like they were doing much, and all of a sudden are top of the league. I look at City, who kind of had a run of, they lost Rodri for 3 games, lost those games. Somehow, back up there. Spurs obviously had a bit of a wobble. You look at the table, they're right back up there. So sometimes it can kind of happen where you're not necessarily, you're looking at the top of the table and you focus on that, and sometimes the sides below that are actually building that momentum, building that steam, and before you know it, they're only a couple of points off, and then they've got a game against one of those top 4 sides, and actually they use that game to do it.
Significant thing about the Premier League is 3 points for a win. As we know, you only get a point for drawing, so you can go again. You can go somewhere and have 3 brilliant points we got. Like, that was a great point at Liverpool. It's only 1 point. And if you go and you draw 3 games,
it's the same.
And another team wins 1, you've got the same points. So it is going to be that team that can go on a run, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we know is that City are capable of doing that. And I think, De Bruyne coming back, the guy's he's just cheat code. Anyone that watched him, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So we know that they're capable of going on runs of 7, 8, 9, 10 games without losing a game. Whether they can do that in this climate in the Premier League, the way that the Premier League is this season, I'm not 100% sure. But I think for us, as long as we just keep doing what we're doing, what we need to do, and we go off and we, the Forest game's as big as the Liverpool game. I think every game now is a massive game, and I think not being in the Cups is probably going to help us a little bit. I think that the squad's a little bit thinner than maybe you'd like it to be. But again, if you look at the bench and you think we've still got no Tomiyasu, still got no Timber, still got no Partey, for those boys to kind of come back, actually it's not a bad core group of players fundamentally, and we were ruthless today, and that's what you need, and I felt a little bit sorry for the Palace fans. We've kind of been there. We've been where they were. Well, no, you do, don't you? But
we get him in, man. We get him in now, man. What's going on, man?
I just feel numb. I don't even feel angry about it. We fully expected it today. You saw with the banners and everything. We saw it come in. We travelled in hope, no expectation. And, you reap what you sow. You appoint a manager in the 5-sub era who probably the endearing image of his whole career was him sitting on his hand as England went out to Iceland in the Euros. We didn't make a change until the 66th minute today. We know that Roy's in-game management was poor. when we appointed him. So it comes back to the appointment. I don't like standing here and criticising a 67-year-old gentleman. The fault lies with the people who appointed him. He's a guy who's been in football for a long time. He's the Dot Cotton of the Premier League. But at the end of the day, it's frustrating for us as fans because we've got no Elise today, but we've got good young players on the bench like Francois, who he's not bringing on. I feel sorry for him, to be honest. It's almost like they should kind of put him out of his misery. And it was very, very interesting today. I mean, you saw the banners. I think that's a big step from the fans group to bring that out. I think the media have only really started to pick up on our dissatisfaction this week. It's been rumbling. Steve Parish is probably the best chairman in my lifetime as a Palace fan. So, I'm hesitant to criticise.
But he's Jordan.
Even his mate Simon Jordan was giving Parish some credit in the week, but he's made some horrendous decisions in the last year and a half. Starting December 22, when he said that we had a good squad. 4 months later, Vieira gets the sack. It's skipped to 2024. We've got Nathaniel Klein and Schlupp on our right-hand side today, and that sums it up. You see the Palace fans. Normally we're a vibrant lot. It's just resignation of acceptance, and I feel sorry. There's a lot of good Palace fans who travel up the country, home and away, and we're not surprised by that. That's what we've seen really since the start of the season. I think they deserve better. I think what I want from Parish, and also you mentioned Parish, the American investors shouldn't get away with it. There's American investors, Blitzer and Harris, who've tried to invest in Chelsea and Man United whilst being at our club. The silence is golden. We just want some accountability. We keep hearing Palace have no money. Well, why is that? Are we trying to stay in line with FFP? Are we going to build this new stand? Just speak to us. And that's the saddest part right now, because when Parish first came in, they were on the club forums, but we don't hear anything apart from bland programme notes and the odd Instagram post when we win, which isn't very much.
Do you think they're brave enough, though, to go with a younger manager? Like, they obviously tried it a couple of times and they keep kind of going back to Roy Hodgson. He's the guy that kind of, a bit like Neil Warnock, you get those managers that kind of every club, if you want to stay in the league, you just kind of go with him. Do you think they're brave enough to go with a different direction?
The names that I'm hearing are, and this is why there won't be a change now, because these guys aren't going to leave mid-season, but the names that I'm hearing are McKenna from Ipswich and possibly Carrick from Borough. So
Steve Cooper I had as well. Steve Cooper.
See, if you hear what the Forest fans said about the end of his reign, they love him, but that was kind of negative football like Roy produces. So he is a name that's been mentioned as well. I heard Potter was in the stands today. But, I think that'll be a difficult one to get.
You'd have a Brighton manager?
I quite like it just for the banter a bit, to be honest. But he never beat us as Brighton manager. So if he was to take over as Palace and beat them, it'd be quite funny. But we just need someone to bring that there's no philosophy running through the club, a line through the club. As I said, we've got good young players in the academy, but Roy doesn't play them, and when he does play them, he blames them for defeats. Having a good academy with Roy Hodgson as manager is the equivalent to like the cheeky girls running the Brit School.
Well, listen, man, I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain.
Credit to you guys. Good luck. I don't know what this tells you as Arsenal fans. Credit for the win. I think that we were expecting this. I think the next few games would be more of a barometer of where your title race is going. I thought, for me, I love Odegaard watching him today. Most underrated player in the Prem for me. So good luck to you for the rest of the season. And I hear
Can Arsenal do it? Can Arsenal do it?
What I'd say is I hear Salah's picked up a little injury on.
Yes,
on
we love that.
So yeah, and deduct those points. Deduct the points from City. Cheats.